The sound of a modern car crash is deceptively quiet. In the age of electric vehicles, there is no screaming internal combustion engine, no desperate downshift of gears to warn you of the impending disaster. There is only the hum of an electric motor, the rush of wind against the windscreen, and then the sudden violent shattering of glass, plastic, and aluminium. For the last 3 years, the global automotive narrative has been singular and overwhelming. It is a story we have told right here on this channel, backed by numbers and performance metrics. The story goes like this. The West is stagnant. The legacy automakers are dinosaurs, too slow to evolve. And China is the future. We have marveled at their battery technology, gasped at their active suspension systems that can literally jump over obstacles, and praised their interiors that resemble 5-star hotels. We were told that Chinese EVs were not just cars. They were supercomputers on wheels. We were told that whilst Tesla was cost-cutting by removing sensors, brands like Xiaomi, Huawei, and Zeekr were adding them. We saw roofs bristling with LiDAR towers, bumpers packed with ultrasonic sensors, and marketing materials promising a safety shield impenetrable by human error. We believed it. The data seemed to support it. But in January 2026, a crack appeared in that perfect facade. It didn't come from a US trade embargo or a European tariff. It came from within China itself. A leaked, independent test conducted by D-Car Studio, a subsidiary of the tech giant ByteDance, has just exposed a terrifying flaw in the architecture of the world's most advanced cars. It turns out, you can strap a $50,000 laser array to a car roof. You can give it the processing power of a gaming PC, but you cannot force it to understand the chaotic, organic reality of nature. Today, we are not just looking at a crash test. We are conducting a forensic autopsy of a software philosophy. We are going to find out why the smartest cars on the planet might actually be driving blind. Before we dissect the failure, we must establish the credibility of the data. In the polarized world of automotive journalism, accusations of bias are common. If an American publication criticizes a Chinese car, it is dismissed as protectionism. If a European regulator fails a BYD, it is dismissed as politics. But this data comes from D-Car Studio. This is ByteDance, the owners of TikTok. This is a Chinese media powerhouse testing domestic Chinese champions alongside their global rivals. The scale of this operation was unprecedented in automotive journalism. They didn't just drive a few laps around a track. They assembled a fleet of 36 vehicles, representing the absolute pinnacle of 2025 and 2026 automotive engineering. The roster reads like a who's who of the EV revolution. The Xiaomi SU7, the technological darling of the year. The Huawei-backed Aito 9, often called the Rolls-Royce of EVs. The export favorite Zeekr 0S01. And standing alone in the corner, the disruptive Americans, the Tesla Model 3, Highland, and the Model X. The protocol was brutal. 216 separate collision simulations. 15 distinct hazard scenarios. They tested against stationary lorries hidden in the darkness of tunnels. They simulated aggressive cut-ins at motorway speeds of 70 miles per hour. They pushed these Level 2 and Level 2 Plus systems until they broke. But amidst the twisted metal and shattered bumpers, one specific test stood out. A test so simple, yet so fiendishly difficult for a computer, that it has completely upended the hierarchy of autonomous driving. They called it the biomimicry hazard, or, as the internet now knows it, the wild pig test. To the average driver in Birmingham or Brisbane, hitting a wild pig might seem like a rare, almost comical occurrence. But from an engineering perspective, a wild pig, or a kangaroo, or a wombat represents the ultimate edge case. Consider how a computer sees the world. Standard safety tests use standardized targets. A teen vehicle target is a perfect rectangle with specific reflective properties. A pedestrian target is a vertical cylinder that moves at a predictable pace. Artificial intelligence loves these shapes. They are clean, they are mathematical, they fit neatly into the bounding boxes that the software engineers coded in a comfortable office in Shenzhen or Silicon Valley. But nature is not clean. A wild pig is low to the ground. It has an irregular, organic shape. Its fur absorbs radar waves rather than reflecting them back. It moves erratically, freezing one moment and bolting the next. It does not look like a car. It does not look like a human. To a sensor suite, it looks like nothing, or perhaps a rock or a shadow. And this is where the disaster unfolded. The Xiaomi SU7, a car heavily marketed on its smart driving capabilities, approached the target at motorway speeds. Its LiDAR tower was spinning, firing millions of laser pulses per second. Technically, the laser must have hit the target. The physics of light dictates that the sensor saw the obstacle. Yet the car did not slow down. It plowed into the target with catastrophic force, obliterating the front apron. The Zeekr 001 failed. The BYD models failed. The Leap Motor C10, in a separate test, drove straight into the back of a stationary lorry in the dark, despite having sensors that can supposedly see in the dark. How is this possible? How can a machine equipped with LiDAR, light detection and ranging, fail to see a solid object right in front of it? The answer lies not in the hardware, but in a fatal flaw of logic known as aninasforta, sensor fusion conflict. To understand this failure, we have to look inside the brain casco of a modern Chinese EV. The prevailing design philosophy in China is the more is better. If one sensor is good, 3 are better. If a camera can be blinded by the sun, use radar. If radar is fuzzy, use LiDAR. This is called redundancy. On paper, it is the safest approach. However, in the real world, redundancy creates a courtroom drama inside the car's computer every single millisecond. Imagine the car is approaching that pig. The LiDAR sensor screams, "Object detected. Distance, 50 meters." But simultaneously, the camera system is analyzing the image. The camera relies on a database of millions of images it was trained on. It looks at the dark, low shape and compares it to its library. It asks, is this a car? No. Is this a human? No. Is this a cyclist? No. The camera concludes, this is unknown debris. Maybe a plastic bag, maybe a shadow. It is safe to proceed. Now the central computer has a conflict. The LiDAR says stop. The camera says go. If the car slams on the brakes for every plastic bag or steam vent the LiDAR detects, the ride would be unbearable. It is a phenomenon called phantom braking, and customers hate it. So to ensure a smooth driving experience, the engineers programmed a hierarchy of trust, and in these specific edge cases, the software was biased to trust the camera's classification over the LiDAR's raw data. The software literally decided that the object the laser was hitting didn't exist, simply because the camera didn't recognize its name. It was a failure of classification, prioritizing comfort over survival, and the result was a high-speed impact. And then, the Americans stepped onto the track. We must address the elephant in the room. For years, Elon Musk has been ridiculed by the automotive press for his vision-only Tesla strategy. When Tesla removed radar sensors and then ultrasonic sensors, the industry called it reckless cost-cutting. The narrative was that Tesla was too cheap to pay for LiDAR. We were told that a camera-only system could never match the precision of a laser scanner. The D-Car studio test has turned that assumption on its head. The Tesla Model X was the only vehicle in the entire test cohort to achieve a 100% avoidance rate against the wild animal target. It didn't just stop. It stopped smoothly. The Model 3 Highland, the mass-market Saloon, scored a near-perfect 5 out of 6 in the highway scenarios, outperforming vehicles that cost twice as much and carry 3 times the sensor hardware. How did a car with inferior hardware achieve a superior result? The answer is a fundamental shift in AI architecture called occupancy networks. While the Chinese systems were trying to identify what the object was, asking, is it a pig? Is it a rock? The Tesla FSD computer was asking a different, simpler question. Is this space occupied? Using a technique called photogrammetry, Tesla's computer takes the 2D video feeds from its cameras and reconstructs a 3D volumetric model of the world in real time. It divides the road ahead into tiny cubes, called voxels. It doesn't need to know that the object is a pig. It simply calculates that the voxels in front of the car are filled with solid matter. If the space is occupied, the car cannot go there. It is a physics-based approach, rather than a category-based approach. By trying to be too smart and categorize everything, the LiDAR-heavy cars outsmarted themselves. Tesla, by simplifying the problem to matter versus empty space, solved the equation. Now, why does this matter to you? You might not be driving on a closed test track in Shenzhen, but if you are one of our viewers in Australia, you know that the wild pig test is actually the kangaroo test. The Australian outback is littered with the wreckage of vehicles that fail to respect the local wildlife. Kangaroos are the ultimate sensor nightmare. They are fast, they blend in with the dry grass, and they are erratic. If you are driving a new GWM tank or a BYD Shark Ute, vehicles I have praised on this channel for their rugged mechanical engineering, you need to understand that their software is not yet ready for your reality. The DCAR test proves that having a 5-star safety rating Autopilot on a spec sheet does not mean the car can see a kangaroo at dusk. The hardware is there, but the brain is still immature. This also applies to the UK and the US. In March 2025, a real-world tragedy involving a Xiaomi SU7 confirmed these fears. The car, operating on navigation pilot, struck a static construction barrier. It wasn't a complex situation. It was a wall. But because the wall didn't look like a standard vehicle, the car ignored it. This brings us to a difficult realization. We are currently in a transitional era. The hardware war is over. China has won that. They build the best batteries, the best chassis, and the most incredible suspension systems, like the ones we have shown you from BYD. But the software war? The war for the mind of the machine. Silicon Valley just proved it is still the reigning champion. So, where does this leave us as buyers and enthusiasts? We need to redraw our mental map of the automotive landscape for 2026. We must categorize these cars based on performance, not promises. At the bottom, in Tier 3, we have the Beta class. This includes the Xiaomi SU7, the Zeekr Z01, and the BYD Seagull. Let me be clear, these are magnificent machines mechanically. Their build quality is superb, but their ADAS software is brittle. It is rigid. It fails when the world gets messy. If you own one of these, enjoy the drive. But do not, under any circumstances, trust the pilot on an unlit country lane. In Tier 2, we have the competent class, the Huawei Aito M9 and the Xpeng G6. These systems showed promise. They passed approximately half of the edge cases. Huawei's computing stack is undeniably powerful, effectively the Google of China, and their ability to iterate code is legendary. They are safer, but they are not foolproof. And finally, sitting alone in Tier 1, purely regarding ADAS safety, is Tesla. It pains the critics to admit it, but the above vision-only gamble has paid off. By mimicking the human eye and brain, rather than relying on a crutch of expensive sensors, they have built a system that is more robust against the unpredictable nature of reality. Does this mean the Chinese EV dream is over? Absolutely not. This is a stumbling block, not a tombstone. The beauty of modern vehicles is that they are software-defined. The failure we analyze today is a failure of code, not of physics. Code can be rewritten. Neural networks can be retrained. I have no doubt that engineers in Beijing and Shenzhen are burning the midnight oil right now, feeding millions of images of animals and odd obstacles into their training clusters to patch this vulnerability. That is the speed at which China moves. But until that update arrives on your dashboard, keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Do not let the marketing lull you into a false sense of security. The lasers on your roof might be spinning, but the brain behind them might be asleep. Now, I mentioned earlier that China has won the hardware war. If you want to see exactly what I mean, if you want to see a Chinese suspension system that literally breaks the laws of physics and makes the Tesla look like a horse cart, you need to watch this video right here. It is the perfect follow-up to this story, showing you where the real magic is happening. Click right here, stay safe on the motorway, and I will see you in the next one.